Welcome. In this video, we take on Scenario 6 of the Dunwich Legacy, Where Doom Awaits. So, catching up on our story, you awaken at the sound of screeching. Fearing the worst, you grab your equipment and head out into the streets of Dunwich. As soon as you step outside, you sense a foulness in the cold night air, a pungent smell that can scarcely be described, and a heaviness to the atmosphere that makes it difficult to breathe. The citizens of Dunwich have sealed their doors, and the town feels quiet and lonesome. In the distance, a faint glow emanates from a hilltop above the village. You know this hill from both your interactions with Zebulon and Armitage's records. It's called Sentinel Hill. The tale speaks of satanic rites performed there, rites in which great ritual pyres light up the night sky while the ground rumbles fiercely below. Flocks of whippoorwills perch on rooftops of the village around you, watching ominously as you climb inside Zebulon's old and beat-up truck. As you drive toward Sentinel Hill, more screeching fills the sky with an awful pitch that is painful to your ears. Everything you have read about and experienced in Dunwich has led to this. If the foul ritual Seth seeks to perform has anything to do with what Armitage and his colleagues prevented several months back, it involves the favor of an ancient creature, Yog-Sothoth. Failing to stop this ritual may spell doom, not only Dunwich, but for the entire world. So we need to check our log, and if Naomi has the investigators back, we proceed to part 1, but she does not. So we skip to setup. For setup, we're going to gather these encounter sets, which I've got them laid out here. For our locations, we're going to put base of the hill, Ascending Path, and Sentinel Peak into play, and we will start at base of the hill. So there are those 3 locations. We're then going to remove 1 copy of the Diverging Path from the game at random and set the other 3 copies out of play, and remove 1 copy of Altered Path from the game and set the others out of play for now. So we'll get that set up here in a little bit. We can go ahead and set Seth Bishop aside out of play. So here he is. Then, based on our difficulty level, we're going to add a Chaos token to the bag. We've been playing Standard so far. So we get a big -5. Hopefully staying on the bottom of this bag. Then, depending on the following circumstances, a different version of Act 2 should be used in the scenario. We'll remove the other versions. So if we restored Silas Bishop, which we did not, we'll skip that one. If the above is not true, the investigators failed to recover, or if it was stolen, not true. So if neither of the above are true, use Act 2, Ascending the Hill, version 3. So we'll get rid of version 1 and 2. Check the campaign log for each brood that escaped into the wild. We add 1 doom to the agenda for that. And we only had 1 escape, so that's going to be 1 doom. And then if the investigators put Silent Bishop out of his misery, which we did, remnants of the creature's body have mutated and grown at Sentinel Hill. We'll put 1 conglomeration of spheres enemy from the hideous abominations encounter set into play at the Ascending Path. We'll shuffle the rest of the set into the encounter deck. And with that, we're ready to move on. So finalizing our setup, we get 1 of the conglomeration of spheres, and that goes in at the Ascending Path. These extra 2 get shuffled into our encounter deck. So we'll give that a final shuffle. And next, we're going to randomize our Diverging Paths and remove 1 of these from the game. Set the other 3 to the side for now. And the same thing with the Altered Path. Randomize these. Removing 1. And so now we start at the base of the hill. We've got our Indebted in play, which means we have 3 resources to start with. Charisma, giving us 1 additional ally slot, and our scrapper permanent, letting us spend resources to boost our fight or agility. And our loyal hound Duke is ready, hopefully, to help us out. So our deck will give it a final shuffle. And draw 5 cards, see what we can start with. Overpower, Deduction, a Magnifying Glass, Unexpected Courage, and Guts. Definitely liking the Magnifying Glass. And the options those things bring, but I really would like, so you know, an ally asset. We'll let Deduction go and draw into a Stray Cat. So we'll shuffle this back in our deck, and we're ready to get started. So at our starting location at the base of the hill, we have a Shroud of 3, no clues. This is connected to each copy of the diverging path. So in action, we can investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, put a random set-aside diverging path into play. Or as an action, we can resign, and this is more than I signed up for. And I'm assuming since that's a different action ability, we can't use Duke to go doing this one. Well, the first thing we're going to do is put a magnifying glass in play. And that is fast and costs us 1. So for my first action, I'm going to go ahead and investigate. Base of 2. I am +1 because of this. So 3 on 3. I'll pitch this to get me up to 5. Getting a +1. So we would get a clue, but instead we're going to take a diverging path. Second action, I'm going to draw a card, finding Earl. And third action, I'm going to use Duke to move and explore down here, just to see what happens. So threshold of 4, we get 1 clue. After you reveal, discard the top 2 cards of your deck for each action you have remaining. Fortunately, we don't have any actions remaining, so we're good there. But we're going to be 5 on 4. I'm not liking those odds, so we're going to make it 6 on 4. Getting a 0. So we got our first clue. 3 actions are done. No enemies in play, so upkeep. We're ready. Draw into a rabbit's foot. Gain a resource. And spread a doom. I think one thing I skipped was what we're actually doing here. So calling forth the old ones. So you approach Sentinel Hill. You hear ancient Latin rites bellowed across the night. The time for action has come. If you cannot stop the sorcerers in Dunwich, who knows what terrors they might unleash upon the world. Threshold of 12 on that one. And then for our act, Path to the Hill. A vibrant arcane energy fills the air with a hone-rattling chill. The energy swirls along the crust trail before you and seeps down several other paths before disappearing. Our objective, when the investigators have collected the requisite number of clues, they must immediately spend them and advance. So we're looking for 2. So we started with 1 on there since we let 1 monster survive the last scenario. So now we get our card. Spaces between. So flip each non-Sentinel Hill location and play to its unrevealed side, removing all clues from it. So all those are Sentinel Hills. And I forgot there was an enemy there. He would have moved over here. I'm blind already. Each investigator and enemy at a location flipped in this way immediately moves to the nearest Sentinel Hill location. Shuffle each non-Sentinel Hill location so the players do not know which is which. Well, we've only got one. So that kind of helped us a little bit. We do get pitched back, which means we're now engaged with this guy. So for our first action, we're going to have Duke attack. 4-on-1. Getting +2, and we ready Duke. Then our second action, Duke will strike again. Getting -X. Discard the top 2 cards of your deck. X is the total printed cost of those discarded cards. So -2. I think I'm reading that right. Top 2 cards of your deck. X is the printed cost of those discarded cards. All right, so we were 4-1, so that took us down 2, so that was enough for 2 more damage. Then once per round, we can discard a card to ready an asset, and Duke is going to bite at this thing again. Getting a 0. So that thing's down, along with her turn. So now there's no monsters in play. Upkeep, finding a knife, a resource, spread some doom, and draw a card into the spaces between. So once again, we flip each non-sentinel location in play. Each investigator and enemy at a location flip this way moves, so this isn't doing anything. Our first action is draw a card, getting guts. Second action, we'll draw a card, getting the will to survive. Third action, using Duke to move and investigate. After you reveal this, discard the top 2 cards of your deck for each action you have remaining. We have 0 actions remaining, 1 clue, and we get to finish that action. So we're 5-on-4. Really don't have great cards to help me with this, so we'll just have to risk it here. Getting a +2 and ready Duke. So we'll take some good luck. Now we've got 2 clues. So we must immediately spin them and advance. So during your search through the wooded paths around the base of Sentinel Hill, you come across a startling sight. A herd of sheep lays dead upon on the ground in a secluded clearing, their bloodied carcasses placed in a strange but careful pattern. Holding your nose against the stench of death, you step over mangled sheep on your way to the center of the odd formation. In the center of the sheep lies the corpse of a man. A clear jewel has been firmly pressed into his forehead, caving in the front of his skull. His eyes are wide, his face contorted in a vision of fear, as if beseeching you for mercy. Though you know better, you check for a pulse. As you touch the man's skin, the jewel in his forehead dissolves, and the woods around you seem to clear. The arcane presence masking the path further up the hill has faded. Reveal ascending path. Remove all clues from each location in play. So we don't have any clues. We reveal the ascending path. So Shroud of 3, no clues. It's connected to each copy of the altered path. It's an action we can investigate, so Duke's not helping us on this one either. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, put a random set-aside altered path into play. Limit once per round. Okay. So then ascending the hill. As you ascend the hill, the environment around you grows increasingly strange and otherworldly. The arcane energy feels even stronger here, crackling in the air and crawling on your skin. Clues cannot be placed on non-altered locations. Objective: when an investigator enters Sentinel Peak, advance. So on the peak, it's an additional cost to move here. We need to spend 2 clues as a group, or 2 per player. So that's going to end our turn. No enemies. Upkeep. Drawing into a knife. Finding a resource. Spreading some doom. And Ancient Evils. Revelation. Place 1 doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause it to advance. So we're up to 5. So action 1, action 2, action 3, we're just going to try our luck. We're going to be base 3 investigating. Getting a -1. So done with that. No enemies. Upkeep. Drawing a card. There's our lucky. We now have 8 cards in hand, so we're at our max hand size. We'll gain a resource. Spread out some more doom. And find a thrall. So he's going to come in and engage with us. For fast action, so this isn't counting against us, we'll do this, spending 4. Play during your turn. Until the end of your turn, do not reveal chaos tokens for any skill tests you perform. So first action, Duke's going to attack. We're going to boost him up to 5 for a fight, which puts 2 damage on him. We'll discard a card to ready Duke. Second action, attack again. We're 4 on 5. We're going to boost him by 2 and draw a card if we succeed, and we will. Drawing into Cunning Distraction. And our third action, we're going to investigate. So we're base 2 plus 1, so 3 on 3, we're good there. So we get a random altered path. And put that in play. No enemies, and the upkeep. Racked by Nightmares. Exhaust all assets you control. Put this in our threat area. Pretty much the only one that bothers is Duke. We cannot ready our assets and 2 actions to discard this card. Then we'll gain a resource. Spread some more doom. And Vision of Futures Past. Need to test our willpower. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. So we are base 4. We'll take it up to 6, and if we pass, we'll draw a card. So 6 on 5. Getting a -3. So we're down to 3, so we failed by 2. So we're going to lose an Overpower and an Old Book of Lore. Our first 2 actions, we'll get rid of this. Then we'll discard the Stray Cat so we can ready Duke and use him to move and investigate. So Threshold of 3, or Shroud of 3, 1 clue. After you reveal a dimensional gap, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Spawn that enemy here instead of its normal spawn location. Well, that's, guess, bad in 2 ways. So discarding cards till we find an enemy. Found one. But we were in the middle of an investigation check, which is going to get us hit. So investigating, we're base 5 on 3. Getting a -3. So we're failing by 1. We'll go ahead and use our lucky. So it's fast, cost us 1. We get +2 to our skill value for the test and draw a card. So we're into scavenging. And since we did something other than fight while we were engaged, we get hit for 1 damage and 1 sanity. And we'll take both of those. So for the enemy phase, he's going to hit us again. We'll let Duke take those. Then we will ready all our cards. Draw into a laboratory assistant. And gain a resource. Go to 8. Crypt Chill. Testing our willpower. If we fail, choose and discard 1 asset you control. If you cannot, take 2 damage. So we're base 4. We'll take it up to 6. Getting a -1. So we're good there. We'll draw a card. Working a hunch. Well, we'll start a fight. So discarding that to get us to 5, and one of these for 6. So 6 on 5. Getting an auto fail. Pitch a card to Ready Duke. Attack again. Taking up to 6 again. Getting -1, so we got it that time. And with the third and final action, we'll just attempt to evade. So we're base 3. We've got no boosts. So slim chances here. But we did it. +2, and we ready Duke. So enemy phase, nothing's going to happen. Then we will ready cards. Draw into Dr. Henry. Gain a resource. Go up to 9. Then there's a light. So you must attach light to either the current agenda or the current act. Limit 1 per. Treat all damage as direct damage and horror as direct horror. Now that's going off in 3 turns. I'll attach it to our act. Our first action will be an attack with Duke. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're up by 2. Getting a -1. So defeated that. Going to discard our lab assistant to Ready Duke. Then use him to investigate here. So 4, 5. Just can't lose anymore. 6, 7. So -2, so we're good. And for our third action, we'll move back to the ascending path. No enemies, so upkeep. Finding deduction. Getting a resource. Going up to 10 there. Then we're frozen in fear. Put that in our threat area. The first time we perform one of the following actions, move, fight, or evade each round, it costs 1 additional action. At the end of your turn, we test to see if we can get unfrozen. We're going to draw a card, finding the Big Deep. Second action, we'll draw again, finding Zebulon. And third action, draw another card, finding a fire axe. So now we're going to try to get rid of Frozen in Fear. So we're base 4. So go 5 on 3. Getting a -2. So that goes away. Draw a card, finding Peter there. Gain a resource. Go up to 11. And we've got Beyond the Veil, Surge, and that's probably going to end this game for us here shortly. So if our deck has no cards in it, we take 10 damage and discard this. So the Surge does it again. So we're taking 20 damage. Put Frozen Interfere into play in your threat area. The first time you perform one of the actions, it's going to take us 2. Well, our first action is going to be to investigate. We're going to use the Wild and Deduction there. So we're 5 on 3. Getting a -1. So we'll pop out an Altered Path. Then we're going to use Duke, which is a regular activate ability, so not move, fight, or evade, but it does allow us to move and investigate. So Shroud of 2, 1 clue on here. After you reveal lost memories, take 1 horror for each action you have remaining. So we've got 1 action left. And we are 5 on 2. Getting a -3, so we're good enough. So that gets us the clue. Then we can't just move back. So instead, we'll gather a resource, and that's our 3 actions. So end of our turn, we're testing willpower. We're base 4. So we're just going to have to cross our fingers. Getting a 0. So that is discarded. Upkeep, we're ready. Draw a card, getting a leather coat. Gain a resource. That will put our 12th token up here. So as you explore the path surrounding Sentinel Hill, the chanting of the hilltop rises to a crescendo and takes an otherworldly quality, reverberating through the trees as if carried by unseen currents. The world begins to change. The grass and trees dissolve like sugar in a cup of tea. The vast, endless sky slices through the reality you see before you. You feel drawn to it, terrified and awestruck. The arcane power becomes distorted and seeps around you, creating strange alterations in the land. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. And then we're beckoning for power. And we just have a lot of weird text there. The old ones were, the old ones are, and the old ones shall be. Not in the spaces we know, but between them, they walk serene and primal, undimensioned, and to us unseen. Yogg knows the gate. He is the gate. He is the key and guardian of the gate, past, present, future, all are one. He knows where the old ones broke through of old, and where they shall break through again. He knows where they have trod earth's fields, and where they still tread them, and where no one can behold them. So, threshold of 10 on that one. And we get a card. Altered Beast. If there are no abomination enemies in play, gain Surge. We don't have any enemies in play until now. So spawn location with the most clues. No location has clues, so spawn with us. And we've got 3 actions and extremely pressed for time. First action, Duke's going to attack 4 on 2. We'll make it 5 on 2. Getting -1, -3 instead if you are at an altered location, which we are. We were 5 on 2, so we're good. That will take this out. Our second action is to move. I'm torn between moving again or putting in some possibly extra protection force. I think I'm going to go for it. I'm Third action, we're going to put in Peter for 3. So enemy phase is nothing. Upkeep, find an emergency cache, gain a resource, spread a doom, and attach your location, limit once. Attached location gets +2 shroud. After attached location is successfully investigated, we'll discard the fog. So for our first action, we are going to, I don't know what's in there. We're just going to move on our own accord, spending the 2 clues. So Sentinel Peak, Shroud of 4, 2 clues on it. So I guess we should have used Duke. An investigator at this location draws a hex card. That investigator takes 1 damage. And when an investigator enters Sentinel Peak, we advance. So approaching the peak of Sentinel Hill, you are confronted by several citizens of Dunwich. The man in the center of the circle is desperately trying to complete a Latin incantation. It's not working, Seth, one of the other men cries out. What are we going to do? The man in the center stops his chant and pulls out Cobbler's knife. The father demands a blood sacrifice, he declares, and his face twists into a crazed expression. Before you can react, he slits his left wrist with the knife, dropping his knees to his knees in agony. The headstone of the altar behind him splits open. A torrent of energy pours out of the stone, coalescing into the form of an open gate. Seth holds onto the stone in front of him to prevent himself from being sucked into the gate, but several of the others are startled and pulled through it. You barely manage to dig your heels in and grab hold of a nearby rock in time to resist the pull of the gate. Seth rises wounded but alive. An expression of pride spreads across his pained face. Put the set-aside Seth Bishop enemy into play at Sentinel Peak with 1 damage per player on him. So that's where we are. Let's see. I hit him back here. Fight of 5, evade of 5, and 3 health. And he's got retaliate. But he does come with 1 damage on him. So the gate opens. From the ruins of the headstone on the altar at the hill's peak, a gateway of turning vibrant energy has appeared. A force like a hurricane erupts from the gate, bending trees and pulling debris into it. The howling of the gate drowns out all other sounds. Somehow you must find a way to close the gate. Only investigators at the peak may spend the requisite numbers of clues as a group to advance. So we need 2 clues, and there's 2 there. And since we went through that agenda, that'll be discarded. So our second action is going to use Duke to attack here. So base 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 7 on 5. So we've got a -1, -3 if we're at an altered location. It is not altered, so we've hit, which will put 2 damage on him, which is enough to take him out. Then for our third action, we're going to discard a card to ready Duke and have him investigate. And we are out of cards in hand, so it's just 5 on 4. And it's a -1. So maybe. So no enemy phase. Upkeep. Unexpected courage. A resource. Play some doom. Draw a card. Finding a thrall. So it's coming out place with the most clues, which is with us. And even though we've got a monster on us, we're going to use Duke to investigate. So once again, 5, 6, 7 on 4. Getting +2 and ready. So, I mean, we would get hit for 1 and 1. We'll go ahead and throw that up there. But we've got our second clue. And we can spin that. Make sure, yep, we're at the peak. So we'll spin that now. You don't know how to close the swirling gate before you, and with each passing moment, the force from within it grows in strength. You fear that whatever entity the sorcerers have summoned from beyond approaches with no time to spare. You turn to the open tomb on the stone altar, desperate for answers. So we're going to resolution 1. And we had just a few more turns before we were going to take 20 damage. So for resolution 1, the poorly bound tome appears to be written records of old Whately, the man who taught Wilbur the ancient secrets of sorcery. Find a passage describing a place outside of time and space where worlds converge and Yogg dwells. Only by reaching the nexus of the edge of reality can you unmake the tear that has split open the world. Feeling as if you may be going to your doom, you muster a final ounce of courage and step into the gate. In your campaign log, record, we entered the gate. Each investigator earns experience equal to our X value here. So 1, 2. So we've got 3 XP plus 1 that we had from our previous scenario. So with our 3 XP, I'm going to spend 2 to bring in the Big Deep, which is an upgrade, and I'm going to get another flare. Let's see what cards did not help us out here. Fire Axe has not ever been used, and the Big Deep is what we're upgrading. So this will go away, and a new upgrade comes in. And Fire Axe goes away and we get another flare. So that finishes our adventure in Where Doom Awaits. Hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.